The moment I saw the clause, I knew. Buried on page 73 of the prenup, tucked between property listings and shareholding splits, was a line that sealed my fate. If I walked away, my father would lose everything, and she would inherit it all. Alexandra didn't even blink when I confronted her. "You weren't chosen to love me," she said, adjusting her diamond earring. "You were chosen to obey." The wedding was televised, hundreds of flashing cameras, celebrities, investors, the merging of two empires. But all I saw was her smirk as I stood at the altar. I smiled back, for the cameras. Inside, I was already sinking. At precisely 3 minutes past 5, as the priest began his sermon, I stepped away, took the mic, and said 3 words no one in that marble cathedral expected. "I can't do this!" Panic rippled. Someone shouted. My mother fainted. Alexandra didn't move, not even a twitch. I ran, down the aisle, out the doors, past the guards, into the waiting black sedan parked by the marina. And within minutes, I was on the edge of the yacht's stern, waves crashing below. No one knew the crew was bribed. No one knew I had a scuba tank hidden in a waterproof duffel. And no one, absolutely no one, saw me dive. 48 hours later, my body was found. Or rather, a body. The coroner was paid. The news exploded. Asterisk, tragic accident on wedding day. Fiancé vanishes at sea. The Grant Corporation's stock dipped briefly, then recovered. Alexandra wore a veil of mourning so perfect it made the front page of ****, the Times ****. She held a press conference, said I'd been the love of her life. Lies. She killed me long before I jumped. Now, 2 months later, I live in an off-grid villa on the cliffs of Santorini under a different name. No suits, no ties, just salt air and silence. But peace doesn't last. The knock comes at dusk, a single rap, then 2 more. The signal I gave only one person, my late mother's attorney. He's not alone. "Mr. Carson," he says, "you have a visitor." I nearly slam the door. She steps forward before I can. Alexandra. No makeup, wind-tangled hair, a scarf wrapped around her neck like a noose. "You weren't supposed to die," she says softly, "and I wasn't supposed to miss you." I say nothing. Just stare at the woman who made my life a contract. She reaches into her coat. I tense. But it's only a folder. Inside, photos. My father. Alive. Hospital. Surrounded by men in dark suits. Not doctors. "They know you're alive," she whispers. "And they want something." "What?" She meets my eyes for the first time in months. There's fear there. Real fear. I tell her to leave. She doesn't. That night, the generator goes out. The villa plunges into darkness. Rain starts to fall, and for some reason I find her curled on the hallway floor, arms wrapped around herself. "You could have had everything," she says bitterly. "Why did you run?" I kneel beside her. I shouldn't, but her skin is cold, her lips trembling. For the first time, Alexandra Grant looks human. "I never wanted everything," I murmur. "I just wanted ****. She rests her head against my shoulder. The storm rages outside, and I let her stay there, for a moment too long. Then the windows shatter, a flare of light, a low-pitched whine. I run to the door, throw it open. A drone hovers above the cliffs. A voice crackles from the speaker. "You have 72 hours, or your father dies." I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the threat. Not even because of the drone that vanished into the storm like a ghost. But because Alexandra stayed. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just sat on the edge of the couch in her soaked designer coat, staring into the dark like it could offer her redemption. By dawn, I'd made my decision. I wasn't going back into the world I left, but I wasn't letting them kill my father either. "You said they want ***me***, I told her as the sky began to pale. "Why?" "They think you're hiding something." Her voice was hoarse, unused. "And maybe you are." I turned sharply. "What the hell does that mean?" She pulled something from her coat again. Not a folder this time. A key. Long, brass, ornate. "Before the wedding, your father gave me this. Told me to keep it safe." She placed it on the table between us like it burned her fingers. Said if anything happened to him, you'd know where it belonged. I stared at it. It wasn't familiar, but it was heavy, both in weight and in implication. "They've been watching me," she added, "following me since the funeral. I didn't know who else to trust. Asterisk trust asterisk." I laughed too hard. "You held me hostage with a contract." She didn't flinch. "And you disappeared, left me to face everything alone." Asterisk. "You asterisk killed me, Alexandra. I mourned you, damn it." Her voice cracked, the first true emotion I'd seen in her since this began. "And I don't even know why." We left Santorini that afternoon. A friend owed me favors. I cashed in one for a private jet, no names, no trail. Inside the cabin, I sat by the window, arms crossed. She sat across the aisle, pretending to read reports she hadn't touched since takeoff. At 30,000 feet, above the cloud line, I asked the question that had haunted me since the drone. "Do you know who's behind this?" She didn't answer at first, just turned her head and stared out at the empty sky. Then, softly, "I think it's your cousin, Evan." I cursed under my breath. Evan Whitmore, my father's godson, the media darling of the family, handsome, ruthless, always smiling for cameras, and always circling power like a hawk. "And you waited asterisk 2 months asterisk to tell me?" I didn't know he'd take it this far. I leaned back, closed my eyes. I'd always suspected Evan of waiting for a slip. But this was war. We landed in Nice just before midnight. A man in a suit met us at the hangar, silent, nondescript. Alexandra called him Porter. He drove us to a villa in the hills, remote, stone walls, iron gates. But we weren't alone. As I stepped into the grand foyer, I heard it. Movement upstairs. Soft, hurried, then silence. "Who else is here?" I asked. Alexandra hesitated. "My sister, Vanessa. She doesn't know you're alive." "Then why bring me here?" "Because this place is off-grid," she snapped, "and because I didn't have anywhere else to go." Thunder cracked outside. I didn't argue. Instead, I followed her into the drawing room where the fireplace flickered low. There, by instinct or exhaustion, I reached for the warmth, and for reasons I still don't understand, she came too. We sat on the rug, barely inches apart, not touching, but not pulling away. "I hated you," I said quietly. "I know," she replied. "But part of me," I exhaled, "wished you'd stop me." She turned. Her eyes weren't cold. "Not tonight." "I wished I had," she whispered. And then she leaned against me, not seductively, not theatrically, just heavy, human, like someone who'd been carrying too much for too long. We stayed that way until we both dozed off. At dawn, a scream shattered the silence. I bolted upright. Alexandra was gone. I ran upstairs. 3 doors down the hall stood open. Vanessa stood inside, trembling, phone in hand, and on the bed lay Alexandra, eyes open, motionless. A thin line of blood trailed from her temple to the pillow. "Don't move her," I ordered. Vanessa's hands trembled as she lowered the phone. I already called for help." "Cancel it." "What?" "No hospitals, no questions, no records." Her lips parted like she might protest, but something in my tone stopped her. She nodded and backed out of the room. I knelt by Alexandra. Her breathing was shallow but steady. No signs of a struggle, no forced entry. Just a faint bruise at the hairline and a blood trail too neat to be accidental. This wasn't an attack. It was a message. Vanessa brewed coffee in the stone kitchen while I cleaned Alexandra's wound and moved her to the sofa. I didn't trust either of them, yet I couldn't walk away. "She had a nightmare," Vanessa said, watching me over the rim of her cup. "Threw herself against the wall in her sleep. She used to do it as a kid. Stress response. I don't buy that. She came here crying. I've never seen her cry." Vanessa's voice softened, almost too carefully. "She still loves you, you know." "Save the sentiment," I muttered. But my hand paused when I looked back at Alexandra's pale face. Her lips parted slightly, like she was still whispering apologies in her sleep. Midday brought another message. Porter handed me an envelope that had been left at the gate, unmarked. Inside, another photo. My father, bound to a chair, bruises dark across his jaw, a newspaper with today's date held up in front of him. Below, a note. ***48 hours left. Or he dies. ***. No signature, no demand, just pressure. And Evan's fingerprints were all over it. I slammed the photo on the table. "We're not waiting." Vanessa stepped back. "Wait for what?" I didn't answer her. I went to Alexandra. She stirred as I approached, brow twitching, lips moving. I knelt and pressed a cool cloth to her forehead. Her eyes fluttered open. "You came back," she murmured. "No. You found me, remember?" She tried to sit, winced. "Vanessa?" "She's here. Don't trust her." I stilled. "Why?" But her eyes closed again before she could answer. By sunset, I'd had enough. I unlocked the leather case beneath the floorboards of the wine cellar, my last stash from my old life. Cash, passport, a loaded cig, and a flash drive. Alexandra's key fit a hidden compartment in the cellar's wall. Inside, a single velvet box. I opened it. Inside, an old signet ring, my grandfather's, and folded beneath it, a map. One location was circled in red, *** Black Hollow Estate. ***, a long-abandoned property under my father's name, sold in silence 2 years ago, and now, apparently, the center of this mess. Before leaving, I checked on Alexandra again. She was awake this time, barely, and watching me like she knew where I was going. "You shouldn't do this alone," she said, voice gravelly. "I've always done it alone." Her fingers caught my wrist as I turned. "You don't get to vanish twice. I'm not doing this for you." "I know," she whispered, "but can I pretend?" I stared at her, and something cracked open. Not forgiveness, not trust, but something more dangerous. I touched her cheek, just once, and felt her lean into it. Forced or not, I let her pretend. I left the villa at midnight. Porter waited outside, engine running. But as we pulled out onto the winding road, a pair of headlights flared in the rearview mirror. A black SUV, no license plate. "Drive," I said. "Already on it," Porter growled. The road curved along the cliff, no turnoffs, no cover, and the SUV was speeding up. A second vehicle appeared ahead, blocking the path. "Ambush," I muttered. Porter slammed the wheel left. We flew off the road. The car hit gravel, then air, then nothing. The impact came like thunder. Metal twisted, glass exploded. Gravity pulled us sideways, then slammed us flat. I tasted blood before I could even move. Porter groaned beside me, pinned under the steering wheel. I kicked the door open and crawled out, dragging him with me into the tall grass just as the SUV rolled to a stop above the hill. 2 figures stepped out. No masks, no hesitation. One held a suppressed pistol. The other, a walkie. They didn't check the wreck. Didn't need to. "We have confirmation. Car went down. 2 occupants. No movement," the one with the pistol reported. I gripped the cig from my coat pocket, steadied my breath. "1 shot," I whispered. "We make it count." Porter coughed. "Give me 5 seconds to distract." I shook my head. "You're bleeding. And you're their target!" He pushed himself to his knees, rose fast, and whistled sharply. The shooter turned, too late. I pulled the trigger. 1 down. Porter tackled the other. They rolled, fists cracking ribs, but Porter overpowered him. "You good?" he rasped. "For now." But the signal was out. Whoever ordered the ambush would know we survived. By dawn, we'd found an abandoned truck nearby. Porter hotwired it, and we headed toward Black Hollow. The estate lay hidden behind overgrown hedges and rusted iron gates. The place reeked of silence, too silent. Even the birds avoided it. "This was your grandfather's place?" Porter asked. "Yeah. My father sold it off quietly when the board started asking questions." We crossed into the courtyard. Ivy crawled over the stone facade. I opened the door with the ring, literally. It fit into an old lock, triggering a mechanism behind the wall. Inside, time had stopped. Dust danced in rays of light. Faded portraits lined the hall. But what drew me was the basement. The map had marked it with an X. We descended carefully. Behind a false panel, I found it, a vault, massive, mechanical, sealed, a symbol above it, the Grant family crest, with Latin etched beneath. Porter frowned. "What the hell did your father hide here?" I didn't answer. I just inserted the ring into the vault's core. It clicked, and slowly, the doors opened. Inside, rows of safety boxes, documents, USBs, sealed briefcases, a private archive. I pulled the first file. My name was on it. And inside, photos of me from childhood, surveillance reports, private contracts I never signed. He had been watching me, preparing for something. But why? One briefcase held a contract marked *Project Cavalier*. Dozens of pages, blackmail files, stocks transferred illegally, all of it linked to Evan. Porter looked at me. This is why they want you. You're not the heir. You're the evidence. We returned to the villa by midnight. Vanessa opened the door. Her eyes widened when she saw the bruises, the blood, the dirt. You're alive! Barely, I muttered. Alexandra was waiting in the study. She stood when she saw me, but I saw it then. The slight limp. The way her hand trembled as she reached for the whiskey glass. You found it, she said. I found everything *. I dropped the briefcase in front of her. She opened it slowly. Her face paled. You don't understand, she whispered. Try me. I knew he had files. I didn't know about Project Cavalier. You let me walk into a trap. I didn't. I was almost killed tonight. Silence hung thick. Then, without warning, she walked up to me, close. Too close. Her breath trembled. Her eyes shined. I didn't ask to care. I tried not to. I should have pulled away, but she rested her hand on my chest. Tell me you felt nothing that night. I didn't speak. She leaned in, forehead to mine. Lie to me. I didn't. I kissed her, hard, brief, filled with all the wrong things. When I pulled away, we both stood breathless. She didn't smile. Neither did I. The room's lights flickered. The landline rang. Porter answered. His face went white. He turned to me. They just sent us a finger. I stared at the finger in the evidence bag. Male, middle-aged. Gold signet still on it. My father's. Porter handed it to me like it was radioactive. DNA match confirmed. 48 hours just became 24. Vanessa stood frozen near the window. Alexandra sat with her hands in her lap, knuckles white. Where was it sent from? I asked. Courier Dropbox in Monaco, clean, untraceable. I turned to Alexandra. Tell me everything. Now. No edits. She swallowed. Project Cavalier wasn't just blackmail. It was a restructuring plan. Your father built it in secret. A way to consolidate assets if the board ever turned on him. I frowned. But the files are filled with illegal transactions. That was Evan's addition, she said. He found the original project years ago, twisted it into leverage. I thought he just wanted control, but now he wants blood. I finished. I opened the briefcase again and scanned the second USB. There it was. Recordings. A meeting. Dated 2 weeks before the wedding. Evan's voice. He'll never go through with it, he'd said. Not unless we force his hand. Use the girl if we have to. Girl? I asked aloud. Alexandra turned away. Vanessa stiffened. *me*, she said coldly. He tried to use *me* first. We both turned. Vanessa didn't blink. Before Alexandra. Before the contract. Evan made me an offer. Seduce you. Get you to sign. I refused. And Alexandra didn't. Silence again. Then low. I didn't know how far it would go, Alexandra said. My laugh was bitter. You always know how far things go. You calculate everything. She rose then, quick, impulsive, and slapped the USB out of my hand. I risked everything coming to find you, she hissed. I watched them bury you. I thought I buried part of myself with you. And now you want redemption? I want you alive. We didn't speak for hours. Porter coordinated a safe route to the city. I planned the extraction. 1 shot, 1 night. If we could trace the Dropbox's sender, we could narrow down Evan's location. Vanessa offered her help. Said she had contacts in Monaco's underground. I didn't trust her, but I had no better option. Before leaving, Alexandra stopped me in the hallway. I didn't plan for this, she whispered. For what? To feel anything. We stood too close again. I should have walked away. Instead, I touched her face. Neither did I. The moment stretched. Not a kiss, not this time, but still something passed between us. She grabbed my wrist suddenly. "If you don't come back—" "I always come back," I said. "That's the problem." In Monaco, the streets shimmered with wealth and shadow. Porter parked 3 blocks from the drop-box location. Vanessa led us through a service alley. "This is it," she said. "Box number 17. I slipped gloves on, pried it open. Nothing. But above the box, a pinhole camera blinked red. "Damn it," I muttered. "They're watching." Too late. A shot rang out. Porter lunged, shoving me to the ground. I rolled and pulled my weapon. Vanessa was gone. "Porter!" I shouted. He was bleeding, shoulder hit. "Go!" he barked. "Get him!" I chased the shadow through the alley, up the fire escape, across the rooftop. The figure turned. Evan. He smiled like we were at a family reunion. "Hello, cousin." I aimed. He didn't flinch. "You shoot me, your father dies." I hesitated. He leapt off the roof, disappearing into a waiting car. Gone. I raced back. Porter was unconscious, and Vanessa? Nowhere. I carried Porter into a safe-house apartment above a boarded-up cafe, using back exits to avoid surveillance. He was losing blood, fast. "I'll hold," he muttered, teeth clenched. "Don't waste time." But I stayed until the bleeding stopped, until he passed out under morphine and bandages. Then I called her. Alexandra answered on the second ring. "What happened?" she asked sharply. "Porter's down, Vanessa's gone, and I saw Evan." She was silent for too long. "Did you—" "No, he escaped." "Then he wanted to be seen," she said. "This is bait." "No, it was a warning." I hesitated, then added, "He knows where you are." That night, the sky over Monaco was glassy and black. I walked the alley where Vanessa vanished. No blood, no signs of a struggle. But in the trash behind the bakery, I found it. Her phone, cracked, still buzzing, one active file open on the screen, an address, *** Villa Oral. *** Alexandra's old family estate, long abandoned, north of the city, remote, unlisted. I returned to the safe house, pulled Porter's car keys, and left a note. I didn't tell Alexandra where I was going. If this was a trap, I was walking into it alone. The gates of Villa Orel groaned as I pushed them open. No lights, no guards, just shadows stretching long over marble steps. Inside, the air reeked of dust and something sharper. Copper. Blood? I followed the hallway down to the cellar. A single bulb swayed above the concrete room. And there she was. Vanessa. Tied to a chair, gagged, eyes wide with panic. I rushed forward, but the door slammed shut behind me. Evan's voice echoed from the intercom, calm, icy. "Well done, cousin. I knew you'd come." I turned, fists clenched. "Let her go." "Oh, I will. But first, let's talk about trust." On the far wall, a screen flickered on. Live feed. My father, still alive, but now blindfolded, bruised, hooked to IVs. "Every move you make now," Evan continued, "decides how much pain he feels." I pounded the door. "What do you want?" Evan laughed softly. "You already have it. The files, the vault, everything I need to destroy the board. But if you give it up, I let your father live. Simple." The screen shut off, the door unlocked, but Vanessa still shook her head violently, desperate. I pulled the gag. "It's a setup," she gasped. "He wants you to run back. He planted a tracker in your car." My heart sank. Porter was still in that car, and so was Alexandra. I drove like a man possessed, up winding hills, past red lights, toward the safe house. The street was already lit red and blue, flames. I skidded to a stop, ran into the alley. Porter sat on the curb, arm around Alexandra, blood on his shirt. "They found us," he said. Alexandra looked at me, dazed, smoke curling behind her. "He said you'd leave me again." I didn't answer. I just reached for her, and she didn't pull away. She buried her face in my neck, trembling. "I thought you were dead." "I'm not that easy to kill," I whispered. "Neither am I," she replied. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number, one image. My father, on his knees. A gun at his head. And a timestamp in bold letters beneath. *** 12 hours. Bring the files. Come alone. Or he dies. Asterisk, asterisk. We didn't speak in the car. Porter slept in the back seat, still bleeding, while Alexandra sat beside me, staring straight ahead. Her face was calm. Too calm. We had 10 hours left, and I was running out of plans. I pulled over near a coastal overlook and turned off the engine. We're not giving Evan the files, I said. Alexandra didn't look at me. Then he'll kill your father. I know. Only then did she turn. So what are we doing? I'm going to the meeting. Her voice sharpened. Asterisk alone, asterisk? Yes. And give him what? Lies? A fake drive? No, just me. Then it's suicide. I nodded slowly. Maybe, but it's better than handing him a nuclear weapon. She laughed, bitter, soft. You always think dying is a solution. It worked once. That shut her up. Back at the villa, I loaded 2 drives, one real, one doctored. Porter was too weak to argue. Vanessa, newly bandaged, watched me with cautious eyes. You shouldn't go alone, she said. I glanced at Alexandra. I'm not. That night, just past 1 a.m., we arrived at the rendezvous, an old train yard outside Marseille, abandoned, quiet, the kind of place where people disappear. I walked in first, Alexandra at my side. Evan was already there, standing beneath a floodlight. 4 guards in dark coats. One held a case. Another had my father on his knees, alive, barely. Nice of you to show, Evan said. Let him go. Not yet. He gestured. The files? I stepped forward and tossed the briefcase near his feet. He didn't reach for it. One of the guards did. Scan it, Evan ordered. The man opened the case, began checking, then stopped. It's real. My stomach twisted. That was impossible. I looked at Alexandra. She looked away. You gave him the real drive, I said slowly. Why? She didn't answer. Evan grinned. Because she's smarter than you, cousin. I reached for my weapon, but too slow. One guard grabbed me, another struck my shoulder with a baton. I collapsed, vision swimming. Alexandra stepped back. Evan approached, crouching beside me. You never learn the game, he said. You play with pride, I play with leverage. He turned to the guards. Kill him. Wait, Alexandra shouted. Evan paused. He has a contingency, a second drive, hidden. He arched a brow. Where? In the vault, behind the cellar wall. You'll never get access without his biometric scan. She stepped toward me, reached down. I flinched, but her voice softened. I can't lose you, she whispered. Even if you hate me. Then she slipped something into my hand, a tiny capsule. I understood immediately. Smoke grenade. Diversion. She turned to Evan. Let me get the scan. He'll cooperate. Evan nodded. 10 minutes, or I put a bullet in the old man. She pulled me to my feet and walked me toward a nearby train car. When the door closed behind us, I collapsed again, breathing hard. You gave him the real files? No, I switched them last second, but they don't know that. Why help me? Her voice cracked. Because I didn't come back for the files, she whispered. I came back for you. Outside, a guard approached. I pulled the pin. Smoke filled the train yard like fog. Shots fired. Screams. I grabbed her hand and ran toward the storage crates, but as we turned the corner, a shot rang out, and Alexandra gasped, stumbling. Blood bloomed across her side. She collapsed into my arms, and Evan's voice echoed across the yard. You just killed her yourself, hero! I carried her to the edge of the yard, my breath hitching with every step. She clutched her side, blood soaking her dress. Still, her eyes never left mine. Keep going, she whispered. No. You have to. I won't leave you. We ducked behind an overturned freight container. I tore my shirt sleeve, pressed it against her wound. She winced, but said nothing. Bullet grazed, I muttered, voice shaking. You're lucky. She almost smiled. If this is lucky. I looked back toward the warehouse. Evan's men were shouting, regrouping. I had maybe 60 seconds before they fanned this way. Then Alexandra reached into her coat and pulled out the real drive. The one in the case was a dummy. This is it. You risked everything. I had to make you hate me just enough to survive it. I stared at her, longer than I should have. Why? Her voice broke. Because I knew I wouldn't survive it twice. Porter met us at the extraction point, a tunnel carved beneath the outer yard, forgotten by most. Vanessa was with him, driving the second car. We sped off into the night, not looking back. Alexandra slept most of the ride, feverish, whispering fragments of her childhood, her father's voice, violin lessons, the first time she met me, back when this wasn't war. At a safe house in Avignon, we stopped. I helped her to the bed, changed her bandage, forced her to drink. She pulled my hand to her chest and held it there. I thought I could handle all of it, she said faintly, but not losing you. You didn't. Her eyes met mine, and for once we didn't need a kiss to make it intimate. Just silence, just presence. I stayed with her until dawn, when her breath finally steadied. By morning, Evan had made his next move. The media exploded. Headlines everywhere. Asterisk runaway groom alive. Secret heir of Grant Empire surfaces after faked death. Photos of me, leaked. Video footage from the train yard, doctored to make me look armed and dangerous. Alexandra's name was buried beneath mine, but not erased. They were painting me as a traitor, as unstable, as a threat to national financial security. Evan was no longer hiding. He was launching a corporate coup. We had 24 hours before an emergency board meeting in Geneva, where he planned to take over everything. Legally, the files I held were the only leverage left, but not enough on their own. We needed a witness, a statement, proof of Evan's corruption from someone asterisk inside asterisk. Vanessa stepped forward. I'll testify. We all turned to her. You tried to run, Porter growled. I tried to survive, she snapped. But if this is the only way to stop him, I'll do it. I studied her. There was something in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Resolve. But also something else. I want to believe you, I said slowly. But if you're lying again, I'm not. She handed me an envelope. Inside, an old handwritten letter from Evan, offering her the original deal, his signature at the bottom. You want proof? She said. That's where it started. That night, Alexandra came to me, healed enough to stand, dressed in black. I'm going with you to Geneva. No. She stepped closer. This started with me. I won't hide while you end it. I looked at her, really looked. Whatever we were before, whatever we'd become, she wasn't the woman who once used a contract to own me. Not anymore. Then we finish it together, I said. She smiled, faint and tired. You and me, against the world. Against Evan, I corrected. The world's just the battlefield. As we packed, Porter walked in. He held out a satellite phone. It's him, he said. I pressed the receiver to my ear. Evan's voice was calm. You're coming to Geneva. Good, just know, your father won't be joining you. Click. We reached Geneva by noon. Clouds hung low over the city, casting long shadows over the glass towers of the financial district. The air was sharp, sterile, like a boardroom already waiting to pronounce judgment. The meeting was scheduled for 4 p.m. sharp. We had less than 4 hours to find my father. Porter worked the street angles. Vanessa met with a legal contact to prepare her testimony. Alexandra and I followed the only thread Evan hadn't burned, his obsession with legacy. Where would he keep him? I asked, scanning the skyline. Not a safe house, she murmured. Too volatile. Somewhere controlled. Monitored. A hotel? No, she said, eyes narrowing. A medical facility, private, off-record. He'd want him weak, not dead. We pulled records, narrowed it to 3 clinics known for off-the-books patients. Only one had a new wing leased anonymously 3 days ago. Clinic d'Argent. I texted Porter. We're going in, quiet. No alarms, ****. The facility was high-end, silent, polished to a lie. Alexandra posed as a bored investor's daughter. I wore the suit I swore I'd buried. We walked past reception like we belonged. In the elevator, she reached for my hand. I almost pulled away, but I didn't. We found the wing, 2 guards, armed, comms in their ears. Wait, she said. Follow my lead. She stepped forward, smile cold and perfect. Gentlemen, she said, voice sharp. Do I *** look * like someone who should be questioned? They faltered. I'm Alexandra Grant. You want to stop me? Call Evan. See how he reacts when you delay his fiancée. Their posture shifted, uncertain. Then one stepped aside. Go ahead, ma'am. She looked back at me, just once, and whispered, Don't make me regret that title. Inside room 17, I found him. My father, alive, gaunt, hooked to IVs, eyes closed. Dad, I said, voice cracking. He opened one eye. You look like hell. I laughed, choked. I learned from the best. Alexandra moved to the door, blocking the hallway. Can you stand? I asked. He tried. Couldn't, so I lifted him. His weight was nothing. His breath smelled like morphine and rage. He's coming for the vote, I told him. He grunted. Then let's crash it. Porter pulled up in a delivery van. We loaded my father inside and peeled out, disappearing into Geneva's winding roads. 30 minutes later, we entered the board tower. The receptionist blinked at us. We're expected, Alexandra said. No one argued. We stepped into the elevator, floor 49. The conference room was already packed, 12 board members, Evan at the head. He smiled when he saw me. You look better on camera. I dropped the USB on the table. Let's talk truth. He laughed. Project Cavalier already shredded it, no one cares. I nodded to the door. Vanessa entered, dressed in black. She held the letter in her hands like a blade. I care, she said. And so will the SEC. Murmurs rippled. Evan stood. This is a hostile takeover. No, came a voice from the hallway. My father. He stepped into the room, frail but standing. This is an asterisk exorcism asterisk. It took 2 minutes for everything to change. Vanessa read the letter aloud. My father confirmed Project Cavalier's original purpose and Evan's corruption. I handed out copies of the drive. Porter played the audio from the vault. Evan plotting manipulation, coercion, corporate theft. Board members turned pale. The chairman stood. All in favor of Evan Whitmore's immediate suspension and investigation. Hands went up, unanimous. Security approached Evan. He lunged toward me. Alexandra stepped in his path. He froze, then looked her dead in the eyes. You always loved the crown more than the king. She didn't flinch. Then you should have worn armor. They dragged him out. Back in the elevator, silence reigned. My father rested a hand on my shoulder. You've done more than I ever could. I nodded, numb. Then Alexandra looked at me. We survived, she said. Barely. But now what? The elevator dinged. I looked at her and didn't answer. The world moved fast after Evan fell. News broke within the hour. Corporate coup foiled. Heir returns from the dead to oust cousin. Some outlets called it justice. Others called it scandal. But everyone wanted a piece of it. The board offered me the chairmanship within 48 hours. I declined. Not because I didn't want the power, but because I finally understood what it cost. We returned to the villa in Nice. Alexandra stood on the balcony, wind pulling at her hair, wine untouched beside her. She didn't turn when I stepped beside her. You saved him, she said. You saved everyone. No, I stopped Evan. That's not the same thing. You think I don't know that? I looked at her. Her voice softened. I didn't plan to love you, not then, not through the contract, not after. But you did. She nodded once, and it was the worst mistake I ever made. I flinched, then realized the weight behind the words. Because it made you weak? I asked. No, she whispered. Because it made me hope. She looked at me fully then, eyes tired, hollowed, beautiful. I can't go back, she said. Not to who I was, not to who you hated. You're not her anymore. But I don't know who I am without all of it. Silence stretched, and then she stepped closer. Let me go, she whispered. I wanted to reach for her, to argue, to offer something better. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded, and watched her walk back inside, heels quiet against marble. That was the last time I saw her. Vanessa took a settlement and disappeared. No cameras, no headlines, just a quiet exit. Porter returned to private work. left a note, said he was done with empires. And my father? He went back to the board, not to rule, but to dismantle it, to break the system he once built. He offered me a seat. I said no. I live near the water now. Not a villa, not a yacht. Just a quiet house with too many windows and not enough furniture. Some mornings I still wake up thinking it's my wedding day. Other mornings I don't wake up at all. Not fully. There's no ceremony for surviving betrayal. No medals for choosing not to become what tried to destroy you. There's just the ocean, and the memory of a woman who taught me the price of silence, and the danger of hope. Last week, a letter arrived. No return address, no name. Inside, only one sentence, asterisk. You jumped once. I would have followed you. I stood at the edge of the cliffs that night, holding the note, and for the first time in months I cried. Not because I missed her, but because part of me still believed she'd show up behind me, and this time, I wouldn't run. It had been 3 months since Geneva. The ocean had become my only constant. Its quiet violence felt familiar, like Alexandra's touch, like Evan's betrayal, like everything I never said at that wedding. But I didn't drown. Not this time. And then, last night, I received another letter. This time it wasn't handwritten. It was a court summons. From Zurich. Asterisk testimony requested. Civil fraud case, Alexandra Grant versus Whitmore Holdings. She was suing them, not just Evan. Everyone. My phone buzzed seconds later. Unknown number. A voice I hadn't heard since she walked off the balcony in Nice. Don't hang up, she said. I didn't. I need your help. Why now? Because you're the only one left who knows what they did and what I did. Silence. Then, if you say no, I'll understand, but I'll lose. And she hung up. I stared at the summons until dawn. Then I packed. Zurich was colder than I remembered. Sharper, less forgiving. I met her in the courthouse lobby. She wore a black coat. No makeup, no mask, just Alexandra. You came, she said softly. I didn't say I'd help. I didn't expect you to. But she looked at me the way she once did before I jumped. Like maybe, just maybe, there was still something between us worth salvaging. The hearing was brutal. Her lawyer was sharp. The defense was sharper. They dragged every deal, every shadow she'd ever stepped through. Evan was absent, of course, hiding behind attorneys and sealed accounts. When they called me to the stand, I hesitated. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew exactly what it would cost her. She met my eyes. No plea, no pressure, just acceptance. So I told the truth. All of it. How she'd used the contract. How she tried to manipulate me. How she'd changed. How she chose to change. I didn't defend her. I exposed her. But I also said this. She became someone I didn't recognize. Then someone I couldn't stop recognizing. The room fell silent. And for the first time, the court saw Alexandra Grant not as a queen or a villain, but as something more dangerous. Human. Outside the courthouse, we stood in the snow. She lit a cigarette with shaking hands. Thank you, she said. I shook my head. I didn't do it for you. I know, she said. That's why it mattered. I turned to leave. She didn't stop me, but as I reached the curb, her voice broke across the cold. If I were still her, I'd ask you to stay. I didn't look back, but my chest burned, because I wasn't sure if I was still him. The verdict came 3 days later. Civil fraud upheld. Alexandra won. But it wasn't a clean victory. She forfeited assets, walked away from titles, agreed to cooperate with regulators for full immunity. Her name would stay out of prison, but not out of history. The headlines were merciless. Asterisk, heiress of ashes, Alexandra Grant, dissolves empire in courtroom reckoning. I read them alone, in a hotel room facing the gray Zurich skyline. Then the knock came. Not the press, not a lawyer. Her, hair tied back, no coat, just a folded envelope in her hand. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked to the window, as if we hadn't just torn the world down from opposite ends. I'm leaving, she said after a long silence. Europe, all of it. Where? Doesn't matter. Somewhere I'm not known by name or blood. She held out the envelope. What is it? The one thing I never offered you. I opened it. Inside, the original contract. The marriage agreement, ripped in half, signed, dated, voided. "You're free," she said. "I was always free." "Not from me," she whispered. She stayed the night. Not in the way people expect. She sat beside me on the floor, back against the wall, knees tucked in, her shoulder resting against mine. No pretense, no promises, just breathing the same air. "I miss what we could have been," she said quietly. "Me too," I answered. "But we destroyed it before it had a chance." She didn't cry. She just closed her eyes, and for once, I let the silence speak. In the morning, she was gone. No note, no address, no explanation. Just a single earring left on the windowsill, deliberate, like a ghost choosing to haunt gently. Porter called 2 hours later. "I heard the verdict. Alexandra's gone." "Good." I didn't argue. He hesitated. "You all right?" "Ask me tomorrow." That evening, I returned to the sea. The wind had teeth again. The water, a mirror of what I felt. Still, cold, bottomless. And yet, I didn't feel lost. For the first time since that wedding day, I stood at the edge without the urge to jump. And maybe that was the closest thing to peace I'd ever get. Because she gave me back the one thing I hadn't even known I'd lost. I thought that was the end. But ghosts never vanish cleanly. They drift, reappear, whisper at midnight when no one's listening. A week after Alexandra left, I found her name again, on a customs report from Morocco. Alias, cash purchase, one-way ferry ticket. She wasn't hiding well. Porter tracked the location for me. "You sure you want to open that door again?" I said nothing. He sighed. "Then pack light. She won't be the same." Neither was I. Tangier smelled of salt and rust and old secrets. I found her in a bookshop of all places, tucked into a quiet alley where the sun barely reached. She didn't notice me at first. She was shelving something in Arabic, hair tied loose, a cotton shirt instead of silk. But when she turned, she froze. So did I. "I told myself I imagined you," she said. "You didn't." Silence stretched between us. Then, "Why are you here?" I stepped closer. "Because I never asked the one question that mattered." She raised a brow. "Did you ever really love me?" Her eyes flinched, like I'd struck something old and fragile. She walked past me, locked the door, pulled the blinds, and then she turned back. "Yes." She didn't smile when she said it, didn't soften it with poetry, just yes. The kiss was quiet, not frantic, not desperate, just recognition. Two broken people trying to see if the shards still fit. She pressed her forehead to mine. "I thought love was control. I didn't know it could be surrender." "I thought love was freedom," I said. "But maybe it's choice." We didn't say we were starting over. We didn't pretend this was easy. But that night, under the quiet of a foreign city, we didn't sleep apart. And when she curled against me, I didn't feel owned or trapped or deceived. I felt chosen. By morning, I had my answer. She was building something here. Books, silence, a kind of penance. "I don't want you to stay because you feel guilty," she said. "I'm not staying." She nodded, but her jaw tightened. "I'm asking you to let me stay," I added. Her eyes widened. And this time, when she cried, I didn't look away. I pulled her into my arms, into the life she didn't believe she deserved, and whispered, "I didn't come to save you. I came because you stopped running." We didn't try to define it. There were no vows, no contracts, no whispered timelines, just mornings with coffee and sand in our shoes, evenings with books open, and dinner burning on the stove. She still flinched at loud knocks. I still woke some nights gasping for air, but the war between us was over, and now we were learning the harder part, how to live in peace. It wasn't perfect. Trust didn't return overnight. Sometimes she'd go silent for hours, her thoughts 1,000 miles away. Sometimes I'd snap at shadows that weren't even there. But every time we nearly fell apart, we didn't walk away. We stayed. One afternoon, she sat beside me on the rooftop, watching the fishing boats drift in. "I still don't know who I am," she said. "You're someone who fought to become better," I said. "And you?" "I'm someone who finally stopped bleeding for people who wouldn't stop cutting." She took my hand, and I realized it didn't feel foreign anymore. It felt earned. Porter called, said Evan was negotiating a plea deal, 20 years, white-collar lockup, minimal time, maximum disgrace. I can leak something, Porter offered. Make sure he never surfaces again. I looked at Alexandra across the table. She was laughing at something in a newspaper. I think we've done enough damage for now, I said. Porter grunted. That's the most peaceful thing I've ever heard you say. Maybe he was right. Maybe peace was the real rebellion. Weeks passed. Then came the letter. No sender, no signature. Inside, a single photo. Me and Alexandra on the balcony, taken from afar. Beneath it, typed in clean block print, asterisk asterisk. You left a power vacuum. Someone will fill it. Asterisk asterisk. She saw my face change and took the paper from me, read it, said nothing. But that night, she didn't sleep. Neither did I. Because whoever had sent it didn't want revenge. They wanted the empire reborn, and now they knew exactly where to find its ashes. The next week was a lesson in silence. No more rooftop coffees, no long walks through the markets, no music humming from the old speaker Alexandra had found in a flea stall. Just locks double-checked, curtains drawn, words held back. She didn't ask what I was planning, because she already knew. We'd tried to disappear once, and the world found us anyway. So I called Porter. I'm going back, I said. To what? To make sure no one builds a throne from our wreckage. There was a pause. Then, you'll need help. No, I said. I'll need her. Alexandra didn't argue when I told her. She just sat at the edge of the bed, folding clothes with quiet precision. We kill the idea, she said. Not just the enemy. I nodded. We flew to London first, where the first rumors were beginning to echo. Private funds shifting, old executives resurfacing, the whispers of a new Grant Trust. Someone was trying to use our names to resurrect control. We followed the trail, Zurich, Dubai, finally, Singapore. There, in a hotel suite overlooking Marina Bay, we found her, not a stranger. Vanessa, hair darker, smile sharper, eyes colder. She didn't pretend to be surprised. You handed the world over and expected no one to pick it up? Alexandra stepped forward. You were the one we trusted. I was the one who learned, Vanessa snapped. From both of you. She poured a drink. You taught me how power breaks people, and then you walked away. I stayed. I built something from the ruins. You built a weapon, I said. No, a legacy. Alexandra looked at her for a long moment. You want revenge? I want relevance. Then take my name off it, Alexandra said, or I burn it all down again. Vanessa smiled. You already did. Now it's my turn. We left without a deal. No promises, no blood spilled, yet. But we both knew the storm wasn't over. On the plane back to Morocco, Alexandra leaned her head against my shoulder. She's not us, I said. No, she murmured. She might be worse. And us? We're still choosing each other. That's something. Back in Tangier, we didn't unpack. We didn't settle. Because maybe this time we wouldn't have to hide. We'd watch. We'd wait. And when the world tried to crown someone else, we'd be ready. Not as king and queen, but as something far more dangerous. Survivors who remember what it costs to be rulers, and what it means to walk away.